Okay. I used to live near Maidstone and Johnny, so I know it well. Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today for this webinar on academic writing task 1, processes and maps. My name is Sarah and I'm a British Council IELTS teacher and teacher trainer, and I'll be presenting for this next hour. But backing me up all the way through are my wonderful team, who are almost as international as this group here today. So we have Danny in Scotland, Aidan in Wales, Marianne in Croatia, Yasir based in India, Layla in England, and I say me, and I'm in sunny but very cold Paris. Okay, so that's us. Let's find out a little bit more about you before we start. So could we have the first poll question, please? Thank you. Okay, if you can see the poll question, please answer in that. If you can't see it on your screen because some devices don't permit it, then please just answer in the chat box. So what we'd like to know is, have you taken an IELTS test already? Yes or no? And what score do you need for whatever it is that you want to do in the future? Good evening, Dr. Mansoor from Karachi. So I'll give you, we're a nice big group today, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to fill in the poll question. And as I say, if you can't see the poll question, just pop your answer in the chat box. Just a few more seconds. Okay, and let's have the results, please. Brilliant, thank you. Oh, well, so 83%, a huge majority, haven't taken the test yet. 17% of you have, so I presume you're wanting to try and improve a score overall, or perhaps a score in a particular skill. And as usual for these webinars, people generally want between a 6 and an 8, and even up to a 9. Okay, brilliant, thank you. Let's have the second poll question, please. Okay, so have you attended a British Council IELTS webinar before with us on a Thursday? So just a yes or no. Please again put it in the chat box if you can't see the poll question on your screen. And we'd also like to know, how did you hear about the webinar? Perhaps you heard you're a member of our Facebook group, or perhaps it was a British Council website that you went to, or perhaps someone at your school recommended that you try these. So do let us know where you found out about these webinars. Roxanne is saying British Council website. Okay, brilliant, thanks. So let's have the results, please. Okay, so 68% of you have been at one of our webinars before. Hi, Shoku, how are you? So that's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming back and attending another one. To the 32% who are new to our webinars, a very warm welcome. Thank you for coming, and I really hope that we'll see your names popping up in the chat box on other Thursdays as well. And mainly you found out about us through the British Council website or an email, though 10% of you found out through our Facebook group, so that's great. Okay, just one more question. Okay. When you signed up, registered to attend these webinars, there was also the opportunity to sign up to register for the free IELTS self-study pack. So what we'd like to know is, have you received it? And if you have received it, Please tell us how you found it. Do you find it useful, very useful, whatever? And because we're a nice big group, give you a little bit longer. Meanwhile, I'll just say hello to Mitu and hello to Dorman. Good to know you're well, Shoku. Okay, and can we see... Oh no, I think I'll give you a little bit more time. Okay, let's have the results now, please. Okay, so, it's very good to know that 2/3 of you, 67%, have received the study pack. 1/3 of you haven't. Don't worry, one of the team, thank you Mariana, has put the link in there, so you can go directly to that and register or re-register for your pack. And those of you who've used it have found it useful or very useful. It's a very good pack. I'll tell you more about it towards the end of the webinar. Okay, thank you for that. So let's just go through the housekeeping that I'm afraid we have to go through each time. Apologies to those of you who've been many times and have seen all this information before, but this is for the new participants. Okay, so this whole webinar will last about 60 minutes, and there'll be some time for questions at the end. When I'm talking to you and I'm asking you to do things or ask you questions, please use the chat box. The icon looks like that. I can't see the Q&A until the end, so I won't be able to see your responses unless you put them in the chat box. I'm afraid you can't see each other's responses in the chat box because it's such a large group that if we opened it up in that way, it would probably crash the system. But don't worry, I can see everything you write in the chat box, and so can my team. So we'll be dealing with any questions or issues that come up there. If you've got any more general questions, please pop those in the Q&A. And again, that's what the icon looks like. And my wonderful team will be working through those questions as I'm speaking. As you can imagine, with a very, very large group, it won't be possible to answer absolutely everybody's questions. So please, if you see a question that's very similar to yours, just like it, and we'll answer the most popular questions first. This is recorded, as you would have heard, and we'll send you the link within 3 days. I believe there was a bit of a glitch with the last link, but the correct link has now been sent out. So you should be getting that. I'm afraid we can't answer any questions about your test booking because every town, city and country around the world is in a different situation. So if you've got any queries about your test booking, please do contact your British Council test centre. And I have to say this because of data protection, but please do not put any personal information, phone numbers or email addresses or anything like that, either in the chat or the Q&A. And as you always are, please be courteous to everyone in the webinar. Need to say that, but never had a problem. Okay, are you ready now to see the program? See what we're doing? Tell me in the chat box. Okay. Good. Let's get cracking then. Okay, so remember this is academic writing task 1, and we'll be looking at, first of all, process diagrams, and we're going to look at a model, so an answer that you can work through to deal with this sort of task. We'll look at the necessary grammar and vocabulary, and we'll look at some linking devices which are essential to this particular task. Okay, and then we're going to move on to maps, and again we'll start with a model so we can work through that, and then you have something to base your answers on. Then again, we'll do a planning. Planning, I think, is very important, particularly, well, it's important for everything, but it's particularly important for map questions, I think. And then we'll look at some grammar and vocabulary that you will need for dealing with map questions. And then we will do some Q&As. And finally, we'll look at some resources that you can use for studying yourself. Hi, Johnny Hab. You're going to take general. This class will help you, I think, because you have an hour of listening to English being spoken and you'll be given some grammar and vocabulary exercises to do. So it might be quite helpful for you. Okay, so let's start then with process diagrams. Okay, and so we're going to look at the model. And really, for process diagrams, there are two absolutely essential parts. First of all, there is the introduction. And in the introduction, you say what the diagram is, and you write the overview. So the introduction is two parts, what the diagram is, and then the overview. And then the body paragraphs, or body paragraph, is choosing the most important parts of the process, the main parts of the process that support your overview. And then simply you describe those parts. Okay. Now, if you have time, and only if you have time, you can write a conclusion. But please note, a conclusion is not necessary for academic writing task 1. You do not, you lose any marks if you don't write a conclusion. If you do have time, brilliant, then you can just rephrase the overview. It just needs one sentence, possibly two, to rephrase the overview. And that's the model that we are going to work through for process diagrams. Okay, so first of all, let me show you a sample question. Just give you a few seconds just to read the instructions, because the instructions are very important, and have a look at the diagram in general. And as you're looking, perhaps you could tell me in the chat box, what is the importance of the asterisk? What is the asterisk being used for on this diagram? First of all, you have to find the asterisk and then tell me what you think it's being used for. Any ideas? Monica's saying to clarify meaning. Okay, yes, sort of, Monica, I think you've got the right idea. If you notice that where you've got play in the diagram, you've got a little asterisk there, and then down here, you've got a definition of what play is. So in a process diagram, or indeed any diagram that you get, if there is a word or phrase or whatever that is a bit specialized, that there is no reason why you should know that, then they'll put an asterisk and they'll just explain what that word means. So when you open your test paper or switch on your computer, do have a look and check whether there's any words that are explained in the diagram. Okay, right, so that's the sample question we're going to be working on now. So let's go back to our model and look at writing the introduction. Now, we said it had two very important parts. Little memory test. What was the first part of the introduction? Tell me in the chat box. What is the first sentence? What the diagram is about, Myra. Exactly. Thank you, Camilla. Yeah, exactly. And somebody's saying exactly what I wanted to hear, which was rephrase the rubric. That was Mohammed. Thank you for that. So yes. So the two parts, the first part is a rephrasing of the question. So actually looking at what the question is, what the task is, and then saying that in your own words. Exactly, Doris. Rephrase the statement. And what is the second part of the introduction? Thank you, Salma. Thank you, Lien. Thank you, Kamel. Absolutely correct. It's the overview, the all-important overview. So, another question for you in the chat box, please. What is the overview for a process diagram? What is the overview for a process diagram? Thank you, Veronica. A number of stages. Shoku is saying number of steps. Okay, excellent. How many steps? From start to end of process. Brilliant. Okay, you've all got it. The number of main steps or stages in the process. Okay, so that's what your introduction is. Rephrasing and then the overview describing or stating the number of steps in the process. Okay, so notice I've got overview in red. So can you guess how important is the overview? Tell me in the chat box. How important is the overview, do you think? Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Kevin. Absolutely. It's very, very important. Okay. And there is a reason why it's important. So just let's look at task achievement. Now, I'm sure that you know that the task 1 is assessed in 4 criteria. So we have task achievement, coherence and cohesion, and grammatical range, and accuracy and lexical resource. So we're looking at task achievement. And to get a band 7 and above, which many of you said is what you need, you have to have a clear overview of the main stages. Okay, so it's really important that you put that in a sentence and in your introduction. We don't, Zutai, sorry, you don't need to list all the steps yet, okay? This is a clear overview, this is one sentence. So, let's go through both of those things. If you don't write a clear overview, you won't get above a 6.5 in task achievement, okay? So it is very important. Okay, so back to our model. Writing the first sentence of the introduction, which, as we've said, is rephrasing. So let's go through these words I've underlined, words and phrases I've underlined, and let's come up with some ideas. So diagram. Okay, can you think of another way of saying diagram in this context? Picture, scheme, model, illustration, process. Okay, good. Yep, okay. So it could be process diagram, it could be an illustration, absolutely. What about shows? What could we say? Illustrates, very good, thank you. Depicts, represents, absolutely. Good, very good. And instead of saying process, can we think of perhaps a simpler word? Stages by which, yep. The steps, yes, that would be great, the steps. Stages, way by which, very good. By which, can we sort of, by which the bricks are manufactured? Can we think of another way of saying that? We've got made, yes, one, that's very good. Or produced, some of you are saying, Jenny's saying that. And what about the last one then, for the building industry? What could we say instead of building industry? How could we show our lexical resource here? Yes, names are going very, very quickly. Salma is saying housing, could be housing. Moise is saying construction. Brilliant. Okay, so basically I've used the words that you've been suggesting. And there we are. So the process diagram, So in red, we're showing the examiner that we know the precise vocabulary to use. And shows, as many of you suggested, we put illustrates, and how, rather than the process by which, keeping it nice and simple. So how bricks are made, again, as you suggested, instead of manufactured, in the construction industry. Okay, well done, everybody. And that's your first sentence for your introduction. Okay, so let's have a look then at the second important part, which is your overview. So let's have a look at the diagram again. Okay, so have a look at that, and I'm going to give you a few seconds to look at it again, and then I'm going to give you a poll question. So I'll just give you 10 seconds or so to have a look. Brilliant. So can I have the next poll question, please? Okay, I'll read it out in case you can't see it. So all I want you to tell me is how many steps or stages, if you like, are there to this process? And you've got a choice between 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. So if you can't vote in the poll, obviously put your ideas in the chat box. So Maria and Leon are saying 7, as is Veronica. Lamech is saying 6. Carolina is saying 7. Marianne is saying 7. Francis 8. Monica is saying 9. Okay. So yeah. Please don't press the switches, the numbers more than once, because it fills up the chat box. Okay, just a few more seconds. If you haven't put your answer into the chat box, put it in the poll now. Okay. And let's have the results, please. Okay, right. So the majority of you, 56% of you, think it's 7, some saying 6, some 8, some 9, a few 10, and even 11. Okay, let's have a look at the diagram itself, and let me show you what I am counting as steps. Okay, so then I'll tell you what I think is the answer. So here's my first step, and my second step, the third here, the sand and water. I've put these two together. They could be cut or they could be molded, but I just considered that as one stage. The drying is another stage. And here I've put the 2 kilns, that making them hot, as one step. And then I've made the cooling a second and separate stage. And then packaging and delivery, number 9. So I've got 9. Okay. It doesn't matter if you've put 7, I'll explain, or 6 or 10 even. I'll explain why in 2 minutes. So we've got, for me, I've got 9 main stages, 9 main steps. So that is what I'm going to put into my overview. So quite simply, it is clear from the diagram that there are 9 main steps in this process. And then what have I added in red? Do count the first one, it's important. Yay, Myra, very good. Myra's saying 9 main steps in the manufacturing process, from the extraction of clay from the ground until delivery of packaged bricks. Very good. Yeah, exactly. It's the first and the last. So let's just go back to the diagram and have a look. So to complete my overview and to make it absolutely clear, I've said it's 9 steps from this first one of digging the clay to this last one of delivering the manufactured bricks. Okay, so let's go back to the number of steps. Okay, so again, the question I asked you about the overview, but here the question is, how important is the number of steps you put in the overview? What do you think? How important is it? Yes, Natchez, very much. Yes, Rusian, very important. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's put our very in there. And the reason, what Olivia's saying, to organize the explanations, exactly. And this is because another one of those 4 criteria that your report, your description will be assessed on is coherence and cohesion. And one of the descriptors says, for a band 7, because that's where most people are aiming, it says that it logically organizes the information and ideas. So if I put that in my overview that I think there are 9 steps, then my body paragraph has to support my overview. So I have to describe 9 steps, not 8, not 10. So again, if you thought there were 7 steps, that's fine, as long as in the body paragraph that you write, you only describe 7 steps so that it supports your overview. Okay. Good. So let's have a look then at a model answer. Let's put all that information together. So I'm going to give you a minute or 2 just to read through that. See if you can pick out my 9 steps as you're reading it. Just tell me in the chat box when you finish reading. A lot of people are saying done, finish, ready. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at it with a bit of color on it. So have a look at it again. And just what I'd like to know is, first of all, tell me in the chat box, what are the words and phrases in red? Aisha, I will be telling you about tenses in about 2 ticks. But first of all, answer the question, what are the red words and phrases in red? Connection, cohesive devices, linking words. Yeah, absolutely. They're the linking words that tell you the order. And what about in blue? Yeah, Jovi, they are verbs, but tell me more about the verbs. Passive, Olga is saying. Thank you, Kirsty is saying. Yeah, absolutely. They're in the passive voice. Now, if you notice, I've put in the numbers so that you can see my 9 steps that I'm describing to support my overview. You do not do that in your essay. Okay, you don't need them in your essay because your linking words, like firstly, next, then, after this, once, etc., they tell the examiner that there is a new piece of information. The next piece of information is coming. Here is the next step. Okay, so if you use these phrases to introduce each step, it makes it very, very clear. Okay. So let's go to some grammar and vocabulary. Okay, so with processes, generally speaking, they will be in the present. It'll be a picture of a process which is currently used in the world. So in which case, you would use the present perfect. Okay, so tell me in the chat box, what is the grammar of the present perfect? How do we write that? How do we form it? present perfect. Okay, we're getting some ideas. Yeah, okay. So what we have is either is or are and the past participle, or the third part of the verb, if you learnt them at school with the 3 parts of each verb. So is and are plus past participle. It is possible, though incredibly rare, that you'll get a process which is an ancient process. For example, you might get something like how papyrus was made, or something like that, or how people made flint tools. So something that which is clearly in the past. This is very, 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 very rare. It's nearly always present passive. But just in case, if it is a past passive, how do we make that? Yeah, thank you, Lien. Thank you, Margaret. Yeah. Thank you, Malak. That's perfect, yeah. So this time it's was or were plus the past participle. Excellent. So today is made, in the past was made. Okay, so are you ready for a test? A little grammar test. Well, you all seem very keen on grammar tests. I hate them myself, but there you go. Okay, so you need a piece of paper, please, and I want you to write the numbers 1 to 10 on a piece of paper. Okay. And here we have 10 irregular verbs, but they're very generic and often can be used in describing lots of different processes. So they're quite useful verbs to know. So on your piece of paper, against your numbers 1 to 10, not in the chat box. Okay, so don't write in the chat box yet. I'll ask you to write there in a minute. For the moment, please, just on your piece of paper, write the past participle of these 10 verbs, irregular verbs, and I will give you about 30 seconds, I think. I think you'll find this quite easy. Hi, Monica. Grind is, for example, if you've got black pepper in a pepper mill and you turn it, you're grinding the pepper. Or perhaps if you buy coffee beans and you've got a little machine at home that makes powder out of the coffee beans, that's grinding. Okay, you all seem fine with that. Okay, so let's try number 1, the past participle of dig. Yeah, lots of you have got this right. It's dug. Yeah, absolutely. What about put? Kamel is saying put. Svetlana is saying put. You're all saying put. And you're absolutely right. And for cut, you're all saying cut, and you're absolutely right. What about the next one? What about dry? Very good, very good. Be careful with the spelling though. So dry, dried, the Y becomes an I. And take, be careful, we're not looking for the past, we're looking for the past participle, the third part of the verb. Please put your answers in the chat box. I can't see the Q&A, so please put them in the chat, thank you. Taken, so take, took, but taken is the past participle. Send. Yeah, most of you again have got this right. Excellent. Sent. Freeze. Frozen. Very good. Yep. Shake. Similar pattern. Yep. Shaken. Break. Similar pattern. Broken. And the last one, grind. This sometimes catches people out. Very good. It's irregular, so it's ground, not grinded, ground. Okay, so you tell me in the chat box, how many did you get out of 10? Oh, well done. Very good scores. If you've got a few wrong, remember that you can look through this webinar again and double check them. And one last thing about process diagrams are those linking devices we looked at earlier. Okay, and again, we're looking at one of the criteria, the coherence and cohesion, and again, looking at the band 7 because that's sort of average for this group. And band 7 uses a range of cohesive devices appropriately. And for process diagrams, you need sequential linkers. They are the appropriate linkers for this type of diagram. So can you remember any of the sequential linkers I used in my model answer? Put them in the chat box. Next, then, yeah, exactly. All of those. Brilliant, thank you. Okay. So some of these, but you can look through the model answer and find them there. Okay, great. So we'll sort of pull all this together. We'll do a little summary at the end of the webinar, but let's move on to maps first of all. Okay, so we're looking at comparing two maps or plans, and here are some general pointers for you to start off with. So always look at what time period the maps and plans are about. Is it about the past and the present? Is it about the present and the future? And that will lead you to think about what tenses are appropriate. And also think about the actual lexis, the language you'll be needing, because you'll be comparing these two maps, so you need that sort of language, but you also need the vocabulary for perhaps describing urban areas. So think about developing your vocabulary in that area as well. And again, as with process diagrams, think about the linking devices. Obviously, they won't be the same, they won't be sequential, but you do still need to link your ideas, and you'll probably use ones that sort of show comparison and contrast. So as before, we're going to do a model and then work through it. So, introduction. Same as the process, same as any other. We have an introduction saying what the maps are, what the dates are, and of course we have the overview. Then we have the body paragraph or paragraphs, and there you must choose the biggest changes, the changes that support your overview, just like in the process diagram. It's always about supporting your overview. And then you quite simply describe those changes and make a comparison. And similarly, if you have time and if you want to write a conclusion, you do not lose any points at all if you don't write a conclusion. If you do, if you want to, it's just a rephrasing of the overview. Okay, so here's the question, here's a sample question. I'll just give you a little bit of time to look at it and think about the important instructions. You summarize the differences by selecting. So you don't have to write about everything. You must pick out the most important changes, developments, etc. Don't have to do everything. Okay, so this is the one we're going to work on. Let's look at the beginning of the model, so the overview. What is the overview for a two-map question? Tell me your ideas in a chat. Remember, in the process diagram, it was a number of stages. What is it for two maps? Some are saying main changes, before and after changes. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Okay. But it's the main, the most important, the biggest changes. Remember, you've got to select, and the overview is always the big picture, not the detail. So when you write the overview, you should be using sort of general language to describe the change. Yes, who is saying that? Anna's saying urbanized, transformed, I think Vanessa is saying. So those are the sorts of words that you need to use in your overview, because as the word suggests, it's an overview, it's a big picture. When you get into the body paragraph, when you're describing the individual changes, that's when you start using the specific vocabulary. So a new shop was opened, a hotel was constructed, then you can actually use this more specific vocabulary. So let's have a look at those maps again, those plans again. And let me just go to this slide. So I always get my students to plan for 2 maps. So I get them to plan for everything actually, but particularly for 2 map features, because it's very, very difficult it's very, very easy rather, to forget something important. So on a piece of paper, I'd like you to draw this grid. And what I'm looking for is what's been added, what's got bigger or is increased, has anything been taken away, and is there any other point that you think is useful? Okay, so I'll go back to the plan so you can have a look at that. Okay, and please make notes on your little grid. Remember, you can write a grid like that, draw out a grid like that on your test paper if you're doing the test on paper, or on the scrap paper you'll be given if you're doing the test on computer. Okay, so I just give you a few seconds to think, put the vocabulary on your piece of paper for the moment. Another 10 seconds. There we are, Felix, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so please tell me in the chat box what's been added. Tell me in the chat box. Car park, yep. Golf course, yep. Campsite, car parks, yep. Okay, so exactly that. We've got a golf course, we've got a new camping site, we've got more roads, and we've got car parks. Ain't that just the way things go? What about what's got bigger or there are more of? It's increased. Yeah, shops, Louisa. Yeah, the hotel's got bigger. And housing, very good, exactly. So the hotel has now got a restaurant, so it's bigger, there are more shops, and there's more housing. Super. What about what's been taken away? Yeah, woodland. Yeah, absolutely. Isn't that sad? Okay, so woodlands have been taken away, been removed. And some of the housing was actually removed as well. They've increased the overall, but some areas of housing. I couldn't see any other point to add, but it's worth actually having that on your grid, just in case there is something that you think needs mentioning that doesn't fit into your grid. Okay, well, looking at that, how would you summarize what has happened to Biltown? Tell me in the chat box, what words, what vocabulary would you use to describe the type of changes you can see on the screen? Eugenie is saying urbanized, Victoria modernized, developed, thank you, Ahmed. Olivia saying urbanized as well. Yeah, lots of you think modernized, developed. Yeah, very good. Okay, that's exactly what I'd say as well, to be quite honest. So let's have a look at that. But before we do, let's just think about the tenses. So we've got Bilston in 1990 and today. So what tenses are you going to use for this question? Tell me in the chat box. Yeah, past, what sort of past? Okay, we've past and present. We've got present perfect. That's just what I wanted to see. Okay, so we're likely to use the simple past to describe what was the case in 1990, the present simple to describe the changes which are clear and now, and the present simple to describe it as it is now, and the present perfect to describe the changes been made in that period up until now. Okay, so let's put all of that together with the words that you wanted to use, and we have those two things. So we have the rewriting as before, the two maps that are maps that illustrate instead of show what the town was like and how it is currently rather than today. So that's that straightforward rephrasing of the task. And exactly as you suggested in the chat box, it is clear that Bilston has been both urbanized and modernized. Okay, so that's your introduction. Very, very clear. And then let's have a look at a model answer. Okay. I'm just give you a chance to read through that. And then I'll ask you some questions again. Okay, so let's have a look at it in a bit more detail. Okay, can you see how I've organized it? What's the first thing I've talked about? I mentioned urbanized. So what am I discussing at the beginning? The first thing I say in my overview is it's been urbanized. So what do I discuss at the beginning of the body? Yeah, the biggest changes, absolutely. And it's the amount of housing and the shopping area. So that's how it's been urbanized, if you like. So the actual body follows the sentence in here with urbanized and modernized. Okay, so let's look at the grammar of it. What are the verbs in blue? Present simple, very good. And why is that? What do they describe? Now, perfect, okay. What about the verbs in green? Present perfect, can you give it a little bit more? Present perfect, active or passive? Thank you, Vanette. Yes, the present perfect, passive. And why have I used the present perfect? Yes, Sandra, to show the changes from the past to the present, very good. And lastly, what about the tense for the verbs in purple? Yep, simple past simple, because it's describing what? Why have I used the past simple? Yeah, describing what it was like in the past, exactly. And one last question. What have I done here with the words in red and the phrase in red and the word in yellow and the word in yellow in the conclusion? Yes, exactly, Ahmed. I've rewritten the same word. I've rephrased the overview. Yeah, exactly that. So here's my introduction with the overview. And I've actually written a very, very, very brief conclusion, which remember is not necessary, but I had the time. And I've just said the same thing, but I've shown that I could say the same thing in different ways. I can show how good my lexical resource is. Okay, let's quickly go through and summarize. So first thing, we put the overview in the introduction, and what goes into the overview of a process diagram? Tell me in the chat. Okay, paraphrase, number of steps, thank you. So the overview, stating the number of steps in the introduction. Remember that you must make sure that your body paragraph describes the same number of steps, no more and no less. Use the passive voice, and of course those sequential linkers. Okay, and to summarize for the 2 map questions, okay, again, the overview stating the biggest changes, put that in the introduction. Make sure that your body paragraph describes those changes logically, the biggest, the smallest, perhaps what's been added to what's been lost. Make sure you use the appropriate tenses by checking on the dates of the maps, and do remember to make comparisons. Okay, sorry, we haven't got much time left for questions, but I shall go over to the Q&A and do a few of them. While I'm doing that, please do tell us in the chat box what you found useful in this webinar, because that really helps us when we write webinars for the future. Okay, so Zue is asking, do you get extra points for the conclusion? No, you don't. You don't lose points if you don't write one, and you don't get points if you do write one. So really, you should only put in a conclusion if you really have the time to do it, or perhaps if you think your word count is a bit low, and so you just want to bring it up a little bit higher. But very good question, thank you. Okay. Okay, Maria, excellent question. Maria saying, is it better to focus on descriptions rather than perceptions? For example, if I want to say that probably the population has other cultural demands and the changes fit now their needs. Excellent question, and it's a really important point. You are writing a description. Do not put any analysis or perceptions or your own ideas in there at all. It is purely descriptive. So brilliant question, Maria. It is, and the answer simply is you must focus on the description and not add your ideas or analysis at all. Mina is asking, do we have to add any ratio and numbers in such a kind of map? In this one, no. There was no sort of numeric data that you would have to discuss. No, so not in this case. Okay. Kumar is asking a good question. Are there any other types of task 1 questions? Yes, there are, Kumar. There are line graphs. There are bar charts, there are pie charts, there are tables. So there are a number of different ones, and in these webinars we look at all of those, and so please look at our program and come along to other academic writing task 1 webinars where we'll go through those different types. Hasina, when you say what tense should be used for pie charts, bar charts or graphs, it depends on the chart or the graph itself. I mean, if it's a chart that comes from 2018, you'll be talking, I mean, 1 tense. If it's a projection into the future, you'll be using different tenses. So I'm afraid I can't answer that question. You actually have to look at the chart itself, look at the date on it, and then decide what tenses you need to use. Okay. Doris is asking, do you only write 1 paragraph for the process diagram? Well, paragraphing is a very good question, and Doris, thank you for that. Paragraphing isn't actually assessed for writing task 1 unless you want an 8 or above. So it doesn't matter whether you write 1 paragraph or more. But logically, if you're talking about a process, you've got step 1, and after that you've got step 2, and next you have step 3, following that you have step 4. So it's much more natural to my mind just to write 1 body paragraph for a process diagram. Okay. Ram, some people are saying that adding a conclusion will negatively affect band score. Is it true? No, it's not true. Excuse me. No, you don't get points taken off in IELTS. But there's no need to write a conclusion, so don't bother unless you've got the spare time or your word count is very low. But certainly writing a conclusion, just simply rephrasing your process diagram, just rephrasing what you've got in the introduction, that's enough, but only if you've got time. It should only be the overview that you rephrase, really. Okay, and one last one on paragraphing. Nien Nien is asking, should I separate the intro and the overview as 2 paragraphs? My simple advice is please just don't. No, write the introduction is a rephrasing of what the diagram is and the overview. Just write them as 1 paragraph. Otherwise you're going to have the introduction, which is going to be 1 sentence about what the diagram is, and then another paragraph with 1 sentence, which doesn't look very good. No, put them together, the rephrasing and the overview, as 1 paragraph in the introduction. Okay, sorry I can't answer any more because I do need to go through a couple of other things with you. So the study pack, apart from all the links, you also have all these webinars that you can watch. So if you haven't got it already, please do register and get it. I think, yes, Mariana is putting the link in again. It's a really, really useful resource. Next week, I don't think these are up on the Take IELTS list at the moment, but they will be up very shortly. So next week we're doing reading questions, we're doing matching headings and summary completion. The week after we'll be doing writing task 2 for both general training and for academic, which is looking at coherence and cohesion. And then the last one before the new year is vocabulary for IELTS, looking at collocations and the use of idiomatic language. So I do hope that you'll join us in with those. And finally, some support for your study. Please go to takeielts.org. It's our mothership. Everything is there, free practice tests, support material. You can join our official Facebook page, and then you can ask our experts these questions, the questions I didn't manage to answer. You can, if you think of doing the test on computer, you can do a practice test to see how comfortable you feel. And again, Mariana, is putting those links into the chat box now. You can go on to Road to IELTS, where there's about 10 hours, I think, of free practice there. And right now you can download our completely free IELTS prep app onto your device, where you've got practice tests, grammar exercises, etc., etc. So do download that. And if you like, you can also buy for a very, very, very reasonable cost 4 extra complete IELTS practice tests with model answers that aren't available anywhere else. So you won't have seen these anywhere else on the internet. We recommend that you look at the official IELTS practice materials, and that you perhaps, if you want to, have a look at the book Top Tips for General Training and Academic. They are very useful ones. And finally, if you want to improve your English more generally, perhaps do a bit more vocabulary work or reading or a bit more listening, etc., then do go to learnenglishbritishcouncil.org, where you can do a little test, work out what your level is, and then go to the appropriate vocabulary section or reading section or whatever. Okay, sort of a bit of a run through all that, I'm afraid. So just wanted to say thank you very, very much for joining us today. I do hope I'll see some of your names again on following Thursdays. Stay safe, stay well, and thank you very much for attending.